Forsaken has been out for nearly 2 weeks now, and I think it's about time that I kind of get my thoughts on the DLC as a whole and that sort of thing. So I think the DLC is still kind of unraveling in the form of the Dreaming City. However, at this moment in time, I think this is a good time to kind of get my thoughts on the DLC and just how I've experienced it so far. So as a breakdown, in case you're thinking of buying the DLC or just that sort of thing, I am going to have spoilers, I guess, in this, because I'm going to talk about the campaign and I'm going to talk about the Dreaming City and what's been happening there as well. So if you're kind of thinking about getting the DLC but you don't really care about spoilers, I guess this would be like fine for you. But if you don't want spoilers, then don't watch this video, of course. But yeah, we'll get into it. So first off, the actual DLC has a good few things which come with it. So there's the Tangled Shore and the Dreaming City, which is 2 destinations you can go to. There's also Gambit, which is a new game mode, and there's also Crystal Maps. Everyone gets those for free though, I believe, and there's 3 new strikes on Xbox PC, and then there's a new one on PS4 as well. So PS4 gets 4, Xbox PC get 3, however we also get the Year 1 exclusives that PlayStation got, so the likes of the EDZ strike, which was with the game, which came with Destiny 2. PS4 had that for a year, and then we get it this year as well. And then there was one which came with Warmind, I believe, in Nessus, which we get. So yeah, which I've played the Nessus one on Xbox now, but I haven't played the EDZ one yet. So yeah, but I'm gonna go over this sort of stuff and just how I believe the expansion is. So first off, the actual campaign itself takes place basically exclusively in the Tangled Shore, and the Tangled Shore is basically where the campaign takes place. I don't see much point going back to the Tangled Shore after the campaign, to be honest, because the campaign is kind of just set and done. There's nothing really to do in Tangled Shore at the moment, and apart from go to Spider basically and do his bounties. But aside from that, there's not really much point going to the Tangled Shore after the campaign. But the campaign progresses with going to the Prison of Elders, doing that sort of thing, and then getting revenge for Cade by killing the Barons and killing the Vulture eventually as well. So that happens, and then the boss at the end of the campaign is like a voice of Riven, which is the Ahamkara, I believe, at the centre of the Dreaming City. But after you complete the campaign, you have to then get a key for the Dreaming City if you're a player. You have to repair a key which Petra gives you to get into the Dreaming City. Once you get into the Dreaming City, you do another mission, and then that's the Dreaming City. You've unlocked it, there's nothing else to do in it. So once you get to the Dreaming City, there's no mission to do, and it looks very cool. It's a very cool place to be. However, there are no missions and there's nothing really to do in it, aside from doing patrols and exploring it yourself. There are loads of secrets in the Dreaming City, and I believe the Dreaming City is more a place which will unfold over time. The Tangled Shore is a set in stone campaign, which was the revenge story that Forsaken was marketed as. However, I believe the Dreaming City has its own story, and it will unravel over the course of this season, I believe. I think personally that the Dreaming City is kind of Bungie's answer to other games doing constant updates. So the likes of Fortnite, for example, and this isn't a very good example because Fortnite is a third-person battle royale game, and it's completely different from a first-person MMO type game, which is what Destiny is. But other games do the same sort of thing, and I believe the best way to compare it is the likes of what Fortnite does every season. So every season Fortnite has a theme, and last season there was a rocket which got launched, and there was a build up to that. The rocket gets launched, it goes into the air, and then it's about to hit like one of the locations on the map, one of those popular locations, which is Tilted Towers, so that it ends up like making a big giant crack in the sky. And that's really cool to see. Even as someone who doesn't play Fortnite like myself, I think that's a really cool event to do in game, and it adds more depth to the game and makes people more excited for the next season. That happens, and even though Fortnite doesn't really have a story, it actually does add some sort of story to the game, and it makes people kind of follow along with the game and want to play it. This season, for example, there's a cube which is going across the map, and even just small things like that, which is build up to the next season, even just things like that build depth and make people want to play the game. I don't play Fortnite, like I said, but even me, who doesn't play Fortnite, know that this stuff happens, and it actually makes me kind of excited for a season, or it kind of makes me interested in the game. Not excited, but makes me intrigued by what's going to happen, basically, even though I don't play the game, if that makes sense. The Dreaming City seems to be kind of Bungie's answer to that, because other games, even like Call of Duty, World War II gets constantly updated every month or so. The betas for Black Ops 4 have been constantly updated every day they've been out, and I think that this is Bungie's answer to other games doing that sort of thing. For example, the Last Wish raid came out on Friday, and the Dreaming City got completely changed, whenever the first team completed that raid. There was a new cutscene when you went to the Dreaming City, there was a new strike, there was a new Gambit map, there was a new mission to do, and there's new patrols to do from like the, whatever they're called, the things that are in the raid that you beat when they became untaken, I guess. But it's really cool that it's evolving like that, and that there's constant updates to the place, and there's also lore that's being added, and there's a story unraveling. I like that that's happening, and I think that the Dreaming City is really Bungie's answer to that. Something else which I think is really good is, prior to Forsaken coming out, there was the Whisper of the World quest, which happened in July, I think, and that quest completely happened unannounced. Bungie did not mention that quest at all whenever it got released. There was an IO flashpoint, a portal spawned whenever you killed like a taken boss basically during the Blight Public event, and that spawned an anomaly portal, and I assume people just went to the portal and just found that there was a quest to do. And Bungie didn't say anything about it until the following Monday or Tuesday, in which they said that event will happen every weekend. But I think that it's really cool the way Bungie did that, and it was a good way to hype up Forsaken, because even though Forsaken wasn't marketed as a Taken expansion, it was marketed as like the Fallen Scorn type stuff, it has turned into the Taken and Hive expansion because of Dreaming City, and I think that's such really cool. And I think it's really cool that sort of thing has happened with the DLC. I know I'm kind of rambling at this point, but as a roundup for that sort of thing, as a roundup for what I've just said, the Tangled Shore is the main campaign. That's where the revenge story takes place for Cayde. As soon as you get into the Dreaming City, none of that's really relevant anymore aside from Uldren dying, and it turns into a Taken and Hive story with the Awoken. And it's a place, Dreaming City is a place which constantly evolves over time, and as far as I know it's stuck in a loop because of some Vex thing, but it's a really cool place. There's going to be a story that unravels over this season, I believe. So it'll be really cool to see how that happens, and I believe this is Bungie's response to other games updating constantly like Fortnite, and even Call of Duty to some extent. In addition to this, they seem to have knocked the raid out of the park. From what I've seen, it took 20 hours for the first team to complete the raid. I think that's one of the longest out of any Destiny raid. It seems to be the most difficult and the best raid, from what I've heard, that Destiny's ever had. And I think that's really good, and that's really cool the way it actually changed the game as well whenever the first team finished the raid. Doing that sort of stuff, adding another strike, adding missions, adding a Gambit map for just a raid completion, even though not everyone has to complete the raid in order to get that content. One team finished the raid and everyone got the content. I think that makes raids more important, because not everyone raids. There's something like 80% of people who play Destiny 2 don't raid, and I think that that's really cool that a raid, which 80% of people don't do, actually has implications for everyone else who doesn't raid. So I think it's really cool that that happens, and I just think they should do that moving forward. Quests like the Whisper of the Worm, I believe, should happen in Forsaken. They have confirmed that will happen. They said that before the DLC came out, and I think that should happen just because the Whisper of the Worm quest was so cool, and I think that if they ever do one of these quests again, it will happen in the Dreaming City or the Tangled Shore, but I think it's more likely to happen in the Dreaming City. Other stuff which DLC added would be the strikes and the Crucible maps and Gambit. I haven't played any of the Crucible maps, but I have played I played Gambit, I played a good few of the Gambit maps, and I've also played a couple of the strikes. So there's one recycled strike which is a story mission, I believe, which is the Fanatic strike. I think that is just like the story mission at the end of the campaign. There is then, I haven't played it so I don't know, but I believe it is. And then there is the Warden of Nothing strike, which is one of the best strikes I've ever played in Destiny. It takes place in the Prison of Elders, and Drifter is your like narrator guy, basically your announcer, and it's a really cool strike, and I just really enjoyed it. It's got some cool unique mechanics like the trains going by, and the boss is pretty cool as well because it's a servitor, but I'm sure there's like phases to the boss fight, but if you're strong enough you can just one-shot it. And it's really cool the way you can do that, because a lot of bosses, they'll have immunity phases where basically every boss in Destiny 2 in a strike has an immunity phase where you can only do so much damage to him before he goes away and comes back eventually. But in the Prison of Elders strike, in this Warden of Nothing strike, you can instantly kill him, which is a lot better I think, because it just works, I think, and it makes it so it's just not as annoying. So yeah. I haven't played the new strike which came out with the raid, which is I think called the Corrupted or something. I haven't played it, but from what I've heard it is one of the best strikes that people have ever played, so I'm looking forward to playing that. But honestly I think Bungie blown it out of the park with Destiny Forsaken, and I think it's a really good expansion. The fact that there's more stuff to come with the expansion as well makes me even more excited, because the fact that Dreaming City is like evolving over time, I think is really cool. On to a different note, Gambit is a new game mode which got added in with Destiny Forsaken. If you haven't played Gambit, the best way to describe it is it's a combination of PvE and PvP, where you will have two teams of 4 which go into a match, and they go into identical versions of the same map, basically. And you will have a team, or you'll have both teams killing enemies and depositing these things called moots into a bank. You can carry 15 moots at a time, and every 5 increments of moots you will be able to summon another boss on the other side. So how it works is that normal enemies like dregs or acolytes, or small enemies which die in a couple of shots, will drop 1 moot. Captains, Cabal, phalanxes, or like the knight sort of guys from the hive, hive knights and that sort of thing, they drop 2 or 3 moots. You can get high value targets which drop 5 or 6 moots, and then you can get the likes of shriekers, or big boss enemies which will spawn 5 or 6 moots as well whenever they die. You can then deposit 5 moots in order to get a small knight to spawn on the enemy side, a taken knight to spawn on the enemy side. These are called blockers, and these stop enemies from being able to deposit moots until the blocker is dead. 10 moots spawn a taken phalanx, which is a bit more difficult to kill because of the shield, and it can be a bit more of an annoyance. And then 15 moots drop or spawn a taken ogre, which is not as difficult to kill as the phalanx, I find. But yeah, so you have to deposit 75 moots as a team in order to spawn your Primeval. The Primeval spawns with 2 other yellow bar enemies, basically, so I believe how it works is you'll have a taken knight or a taken ogre which spawns, and that'll be your Primeval. Then there'll be a taken ogre in addition to that, and then there will be a hive, or a taken witch, which will spawn as well. The taken witch heals the Primeval, and then the taken ogre is just kind of there as an annoyance. But then if you melt down your Primeval and you kill it, you win the round. You can also invade via a portal whenever certain amount of moots are deposited in order to go into the enemy team's version of the map and kill them. Killing them will make them drop their moots, and then I believe they can't pick them up again, I think, or something like that, or maybe you'll only be able to pick up a few of them. But basically whenever someone dies, their moots disappear. So if you're an invader and you go into the other side and you kill some enemies, they can't pick up their moots again. However, if they kill you, I think they can pick up your moots, so you have to be careful with that. Once a Primeval gets spawned in, the enemy team can invade your side as much as they want, and if they kill you, well, I think it refreshes every 5 or 10 seconds, the portal, so there's like a 5 or 10 second gap between each invasion so that they can't really invade in. So if they kill you whilst your Primeval is up, it will heal the Primeval, so that's where the whole death heals Primeval thing comes from. So if you invade the enemy team's side whilst they have a Primeval, if you kill 2 enemies, that'll do a certain amount of healing to the Primeval, and it'll make it a bit more difficult for them to kill the Primeval. The best guns for this game mode are basically the EP Shoddy, or a gun similar to that because it just melts things. A good kinetic weapon, doesn't really matter which, it's just something to kill enemies with. And then the Sleeper Simulant is also really good because it one-shots enemies, as in it one-shots actual guardians, which shouldn't be a thing because it is 3 shots in a mag, so it should really take 2 shots. But yeah, I think they need to change that. But overall, I think Gambit's a really good map, or it's a really good mode basically. The maps are really well thought out, and I really like them. And the game mode as a whole is really, really well done. The only things I dislike about the game mode are 1, the Sleeper Simulant. It really needs to be nerfed because it currently one-shots enemies. You can get collapse with it as well. I don't really care about the collapse, but it one-shots guardians. It really needs to 2-shot guardians because invaders have like an extra shield, so they have 3 health bars basically instead of 2, which guardians usually have. The guardians usually have an overshield and then their health bar, whereas invaders have their overshield, another overshield, and then their health bar. And so it makes it more difficult to kill them, and they can also kill you in one shot with a sleeper. So I think they need to nerf the sleeper to make it 2-shot or something, because that would make it a lot better. I think a lot fairer, because currently everyone's running the sleeper, so I think it would make it a bit more balanced. In addition to this, I really hate the way there seems to be no like solo player matchmaking. So in Crucible they made it so as if you're a solo player, you're less likely to be matched up against a team of 4 people or a team of 6 people. However, in Gambit I'm always being matched against people who are in teams of 4, so I think they need to fix that a wee bit. But, you know, usually the teams of 4 aren't that good, surprisingly enough, but it's really annoying when you get against a team of 4 who are coordinated and work really well in the team. So I think they need to kind of fix that, because it'd be a lot fairer to have multiple people, maybe like a duo or a trio, that's acceptable, but having a team of solo players against a team of 4 players who are talking to each other and coordinated isn't really fair. Overall though, I really like the game mode, and I think it's a really good game mode that they added into the game, and it's really well thought out, and I really enjoy the game mode. Aside from that, I think that's basically all I have to say for Forsaken. The last thing really is just exotic quests. The quest for the whatever it's called, the Ace of Spades, which is Cade's hand cannon, is really well thought out. The fact there's a mission at the end of that quest as well is really good, and that mission's really good as well. In case you haven't got Ace of Spades, I'm not going to talk about it, but it's a really good mission and it is really well thought out. There's actually an Easter egg in that mission, which, like, one of the rocks or something looked like Cade, like Cade's face. I didn't see it, I saw it in the Destiny Reddit, so yeah, it's pretty cool. But they really thought that quest out really well, and it's just a really good quest. As a few tips for that quest actually are, I think I'll do a review on that video or on that gun at some stage. However, a few tips would be: use the Crimson in Crucible, use the Sturm and the Drying in Gambit, and that's about it. So the other quest, which is kind of in the game, is the Chaperone quest. That's not too difficult to do, surprisingly enough. It's just shotgun eliminations and killing invaders and Gambit and that sort of thing, so it's not too difficult to do, and it honestly is a very good quest. So I'd say that's about it. The exotic quests are pretty good in the expansion. There should be Whisper of the Worm-esque quests happening eventually, which I would imagine will happen in Dreaming City. And I don't know what they'll drop, but I imagine it'll be pretty good weapons and probably using through back one, because the Whisper is the Black Spindle, or, you know, the whatever it's called in Destiny 1, so yeah, but that's about it. So I'm really enjoying Forsaken. There's much more to do in Forsaken as well. I have only scratched the surface in the expansion, so I'd say currently it's well worth the £35, $40, however much money it is in your currency, but I think it is a really good expansion. It's really worthwhile. It's going to continue evolving, like the Dreaming City is going to continuously evolve over this season and over time, and I think it's really cool that's happening. And there's much more to happen in the expansion, there's much more stuff to happen, and yeah, that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye.